Hey there guys, Pinobi here, bringing you another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. This is going to be a deck profile on Evil Hero Dark Gaia OTK. It's 2014, brand new year, brand new format, so I'm going to be doing some deck profiles on some decks that I've been playing recently, and this of course being one of them. I think this deck has gotten a lot better in the recent formats due to primarily the new Darkworld cards being Grapha, Snow, and the Field Spell especially, giving the deck a lot more consistency, a lot more speed, a lot more versatility in the way that it can make its plays. And overall, yeah, I think it's just gotten a lot better. It did lose, of course, a lot of the power cards it used to enjoy, such as Heavy Storm, Card Destruction, of course, Giant Trunade, etc., Monster Board. But I definitely think the deck has gotten better, and it's gotten to the point where it's a little bit under the radar. It's a fun deck, and it can definitely make some big plays. It's actually been performing a lot better than I even thought in testing. Beating a lot of Mermails and beating a lot of, Gyurikuri, things like that, which I play a lot of myself. So I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. For the monster lineup, we've got 3 Brow, of course, being the main draw. 3 Snow, obvious, main search. 3 Grapha, of course. Sorry if the light's a little bit in the way. But yeah, 3 Grapha, Spot Destruction. He's a 2700 beater, which of course that attack power would be transferred into your Evil Hero Dark Gaia. By the way, if you don't know what Evil Hero Dark Gaia does, you might want to read up on that first. 1 gold, Lord of Darkworld. Gold is not that great, to be quite honest with you. I thought about using Beige instead, just for the normal summon and bounce effect for Grapha, but you normally are not going to be doing that very much anyways, and you're already running 6 Darkworlds that you can pull that off with. So having the extra attack points, I think, is merits the spot. And the reason I even run gold is just because you have so many discard outlets that you need at least 1 more Darkworld, in my opinion, just to kind of round it out and make it feel right. Going into the rocks, you've got 2 Valkyria, the Magna Warrior, highest attack rock monster in the game. You've got 2 Gaia Play the Earth Giants. Gaia Play the Earth Giant, you hardly really summon him, but just having the option of the deck not being so linear, I think merits him a place. I've thought about actually just cutting him down, though, to 1 and running a 3rd Valkyrion, since the deck is a lot quicker and a lot more consistent in doing what it does. So you don't really need those side plays quite as much as you did in formats past. 1 Morphing Jar, the last rock monster of the deck, making 5 targets. And of course, Morphing Jar, Darkworlds obviously can pull off some nutso combos. Of course it's slow. Of course, you have to set it and everything. So it is kind of a vulnerable card, and you're not exactly running much in ways of protection. But it's practically a win condition if you can pull it off. I think it merits its spot. And then the last monster in the deck is going to be Evil Hero Infernal Gainer. If you don't know what this does, it banishes itself to make a Fiend-type monster on your side of the field be able to attack twice. So let's say you summon your Evil Hero Dark Gaia with your 2 highest attack targets, the one that you're mostly going to be using, Valkyrion and Grapha. That's going to be a 6,200 attack monster. So a 6,200 attack monster that can attack twice is game. A 6,200 attack monster on top of a Grapha, if you can bring a Grapha back, that's game. So the deck definitely can OTK, of course, obviously. The spells, we're going to have 3 Darkworld Dealings, basic Darkworld draw power. 3 of the field spell, Gates, of course, basic Darkworld draw power. Its effect is only once per turn, but of course you can just activate it over itself to use the next one's effect, which you're oftentimes going to be doing, so it can practically act like another Darkworld Dealings for you. 3 Drag Down into the Grave. This is a big change from my previous lists in different formats, because in the past I didn't run as heavy of a Darkworld engine, because the way that this deck works, being an OTK deck, you want to keep the economy of this deck. You're going to want to keep in your hand. You're going to want to keep your card number high, even if it means your opponent card number also has to be high. Whereas a lot of the older Darkworld cards, like Gren and the other destruction cards, you would lose your own economy to make your opponent lose economy, but that's not how OTK decks work. You want to maintain your economy, even if it means your opponent maintains theirs, until you can get your big playoff, and then hopefully just establish board presence and win that turn, despite what their economy is. Then you have, for more draw power, 3 copies of Trade-In. This card became even better. It was already amazing in the deck. It lets you run less level 8 targets because of the fact that you can search out Grapha, because the deck is faster with the field spell. You don't have to run as many big beaters to make this card not dead. The one-ofs for draw power, you got 1 Allure of Darkness, of course. 1 Day of Peace, of course. Just the fact that you're an OTK deck, the fact that you could potentially get Cloggy Hands you know, that it can give you that protection for a turn, and of course it just lets you thin the deck by one more card. And the last draw card in the deck is only one copy of Upstart Goblin. I know one copy seems a little bit strange. This deck is a little bit hurt for space. And obviously, being an OTK deck, you don't really want to be giving your opponents life points. Upstart Goblin is mostly for combo-based decks that need the consistency more than anything, whereas you do not want your opponent to have a too high number of life points. But like I said, a 6,200 attack monster that can attack twice, having an extra 1,000 shouldn't hurt them too much, but having an extra 3,000, of course, could be detrimental to what you're trying to accomplish, and being such a fast deck, you would probably draw into those upstarts. The last spell card in the deck, the main, Dark Calling himself. Dark Calling, if you don't know what it does, it basically acts like your Dark Fusion. Of course, it doesn't have the amazing benefit of Dark Fusion to protect from spell and traps, but or targeting spell and traps, I think, only. But you banish a rock, you banish a fiend from your hand or from your graveyard, and you summon a Evil Hero monster with the same like summoning conditions or whatever, which would be Evil Hero Dark Gaia for this case. So you just pick the Grapha, you pick the Valkyrion, you got a 6,200 beater right there, or you could always get the big rock guy 2,800 beater Gaia plate, and he'd be like what, 5,500? Don't double check the math on that. And actually, I'm sorry, one more spell card, one copy of Forbidden Lance. In the past, I ran things like Darkworld Lightning, MST, because you really needed to clear that back row. And honestly, I just really want consistency for this deck. I really want this deck to be able to pull off what it's trying to pull off. And cards like Darkworld Lightning and stuff can become a little bit of a little inconsistent. It just depends on if your opponent's playing a heavy back row deck. Depends if they're playing something that sets a lot. If it's a turn one, it's obviously not useful for you. Forbidden Lance, I think, is just really good this format. Obviously, people are going to be siding, if they side it at all. Defissure, Macro, these cards are going to show up in people's side decks a lot for water this format. So, of course, you're going to want to side deck into at least 2 copies of MST almost every single game if you're playing this deck more seriously. I'm playing this deck more as a fun deck. I don't really play it in tournaments. So, people oftentimes are not siding against me. So, maining MST, it's just not that prevalent for me. I like the Forbidden Lance. It gets around Compulse, gets around Bottomless. The fact that I can't dedicate enough spots to Spell and Trap Hate as my opponent can dedicate spots to running defensive Spell and Trap cards like Compulse, like Bottomless, like Fiendish Chain. So if I can just Forbidden Lance my one Evil Hero Dark Gaia and swing twice with it, or if I can just summon 2 Evil Hero Dark Gaias and protect one from a potential Compulse, Bottomless, Fiendish Chain, etc., then I most likely am going to be able to get my OTK off, and I just think that for the main deck, Forbidden Lance is a better option right now. Moving into the traps, we got 3 copies of Reckless Greed. This is just going to give you that extra draw power. It's going to give you what you need to just get the combo pieces going in your hand to just run through your entire deck. And that's basically how this deck operates. If you have the pieces you need, discard outlets with the correct discard fodder to thin the deck, to search the deck, then you're going to probably be able to run through the whole thing. So being able to just get those additional resources in your hand at the very start of your combo to just roll with it, Reckless Greed is very useful in that sense. And then the last trap cards in the deck is 2 copies of Threatening Roar. Obviously, if you get a cloggy hand, if you are going first and you obviously cannot attack first and you don't want to get OTK'd yourself, Threatening Roar is just obviously going to protect you. It can protect a potential Morphing Jar if they were, I don't know, running their own Evil Hero Dark Gaia, lol. But yeah, Threatening Roar, obviously a good card. And the reason I'm playing Threatening Roar over Gores, over Battle Fader, over Tragoidia, in the past I've tested a lot with all the different defensive hand traps. Tragoidia had a lot of use just because technically, yes, it was a discard outlet, not that you really ever used it for that, but since you hoarded so many cards in your hand, it could be a big beater, it could make the deck less linear, it gave it extra plays. But the fact that I'm now running 3 copies of Drag Down into the Grave, you really cannot just afford to have those type of monster cards in your hand that are not useful when discarded. So you really just needed to clear way for things like Threatening Roar, which you could set to make your opponent be forced into picking your Darkworld cards, be forced into picking those cards that you want discarded. So Threatening Roar definitely makes the deck a lot cleaner. So hopefully you guys enjoy this deck profile. In terms of the side deck, just make sure you're playing the MSTs. I really haven't established a sideboard, to be quite honest with you, although I guess that's something I could consider doing. I'm going to leave a picture like a DN pick of the deck list in the bottom, so you can see the full list if you want to refer back to it. As far as the extra deck goes, obviously make sure you're maxing out on the Evil Hero Dark Gaias. I would even consider, I would highly recommend playing some level 8 XYZs. You're not running any tuners, you don't need synchro space. Run things like Heliopolis, run, Tachyon or whatever other level 8s that you feel are appropriate. Because let's say you summon this guy and he gets Veilered. Veilered's obviously this deck's, worst enemy. You can still normal summon a Brow, you can normal summon a Snow, whatever. You can special summon a Gold and then bounce it. You can bounce for Grapha and then overlay 8. Heliopolis obviously clears the board for OTK if you potentially get like a let's say you have Dark Calling in hand and you've got Grapha on field, you can special summon a Gaia plate from your hand potentially or something like that, and then you can overlay, and then you can Heliopolis to clear board, depending on what kind of economy you have to spare to do a play like that. So level 8 XYZ is also recommended for the extra. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a nice day. Hope you're having a good 2014. If there's any kind of decks that you think are going to be good this format that you want to talk about that are outside the standard, feel free to bring them up. I'm probably going to be posting some kind of more original deck lists, some more under-the-radar stuff, because I think it's more fun to talk about. I'm not going to let this video drag too much longer, so have a nice day.